Hello, everybody. So I've been wanting to do another tier list for a while, and I've been on kind of a James Bond kick lately, where I've been rewatching a bunch of the movies, and I've been watching a bunch of. Uh, Please check out his channel, Calvin Dyson, who does Bond lore and Bond countdowns and just a lot of good stuff relating to James Bond. But I figured it would make a good tier list because there's quite a few of them. I think there's 24 movies to rank, so there's enough of them, and I have seen all of them. For a couple of these, I might go from what I remember because I haven't watched all of the movies recently, but I have seen all of them at some point. That being said, maybe let's just get into it. So, the first movie we have is Casino Royale. Now, this is a good one to start at because it's a film I have very mixed feelings about. Now, a lot of people rank this as the number one Bond film. I think because it had a lot of appeal to non Bond fans. Part of that is just because it's a reboot, so you didn't need to know any of the background in order to appreciate it. Also, obviously, it's chronologically the first book, and it's kind of Bond's origin story. So that's all good. And the movie is really well made. I don't know if it just had a higher budget or they got a more competent filmmaker, but the filmmaking in the Bond movies I find is kind of varies pretty wildly. I don't necessarily mean how much I like them, but some of them you have like really well edited, really well paced, something like You Only Live Twice or GoldenEye. And then you have a lot of the Roger Moore films that just kind of drag. Thunderball's a bit like that too. And it is very well edited, it is very well made, very well polished. My issue with it is what it led to. I'm not a big fan of Daniel Craig as Bond. I don't think he really looks like Bond. I don't think he really acts like Bond. He made two good movies and two, in my opinion, the two worst Bond movies. And it just kind of led to a departure from Bond. Now, as you'll see as we go through this, I like doing something different. I like it when they shake it up too much. But as Spoonie put it, you can go too far in changing things, and then it becomes betrayal, and it's not recognizable anymore. Like they took out the gun barrel scene, they took out just a lot of the traditional aspects of the series, like the gadgets, the camp. I'm not against having like a more serious, darker Bond, but it just feels to me like they went too far and changed it too much. Also, the movies just take too long now to come out. I kind of miss, well, I wasn't born during the 80s, but when they came out every 2 to 3 years, now we have stuff like films getting stuck in development hell. You have production nightmares like what they had with Quantum of Solace. And it's just, I don't know. I kind of miss a lot of it. I feel like with the Brosnan movies, they were trying to deal with where do we go now that the Cold War's over. And with these movies, they're just so postmodern and so like the stakes are kind of irrelevant. I don't really know how to feel about them. So while Casino Royale is a good movie in and of itself, it led to what I think was a sharp decline of the series. So I'm gonna have to put it in A tier. Okay, so From Russia with Love. This is another one that's difficult to rate because this is a film, and when I was watching Calvin review it, he says I really want to like this film. I'm always hyped whenever I rewatch it, but when I rewatch it, I realize it really drags. It could have been better edited. There's like a lot of stuff that probably could have been done better. And I think that's true. In particular, I think if you remove the gypsy camp scene from this, because it goes on forever, that would make this a much tighter movie. But it does have a lot of really good things going for it. Like it has Red Grant, who's I think one of the better Bond villains or better henchmen. It's the first time you had a real pre-credit sequence, which was really good in my opinion, with the fake out of Bond dying. You had Spectre Island, that was cool. You had a good Blofeld. I forget who it was in this movie, but he was very intimidating and creepy. You had what's her name, Helga Blunt, with the poison shoe blade. You had the first kind of gadgets. Also, this is I think one of the more spy movie. This is back, I think, before it really became an action movie series. So you have kind of more intrigue, more kind of cat and mouse and stuff like that. So it's good, but it's very flawed, and I think people tend to remember it better than it actually was in a lot of ways because of the pacing issues. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it into B, but it's a soft. Okay, so I want to do Quantum of Solace next because it's Quantum of Solace. So Quantum of Solace is, in my opinion, the worst Bond film. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I remember, like, I sat there. It's the worst pre-title sequence. I don't know if you haven't seen it in a while. It's like the worst edited car chase, not just in a Bond film, but maybe in any movie I've ever seen. The editing in this movie is horrible. I can't tell what's happening during any of the action scenes. The director, I forget who the director was, but he was really pretentious. He's like, the four main action scenes in this film correspond to the four elements: earth, wind, fire, and water. I'm just like, that's really lame. And the plot was lame. Quantum's lame. The villain, Mr. Green, is lame. It's just, and then there's the fake drama with M and Strawberry Field's death. And it's not about the oil, it's actually about the water, but no, wait, it is about the oil. It's just a really like hackneyed, poorly put together mess of a film that doesn't have anything redeemable about it. Like, you have a lot of goofy Roger Moore movies. Like, A View to a Kill is pretty goofy. Moonraker's goofy, but they have a lot of camp in them. They have a lot of fun set pieces and good one-liners and jokes. And Quantum of Solace is a film with no redeeming features, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I do like Gemma Arterton and what's her name, the one who plays the other Bond girl, but it's just awful. So that gets garbage tier. The Man with the Golden Gun. Now, this might be controversial where I wind up putting this. I'm going to put this at B tier. Now, a lot of people hate this movie. A lot of people make fun of it, but I thought it was a lot of fun. Macau is a really good setting. I kind of like the travel log parts of Bond, where he goes to exotic locales you don't normally see, particularly when it's during a time period that just obviously doesn't exist anymore. Like, I think was this 1960s, I think 60s or 70s or whenever they filmed this. It was just kind of cool to see Macau at the time as it was really kind of developing. There's the parts, I think, in Thailand, the island archipelago that Scaramanga's base is on was really good. I like the pre-title credit sequence a lot. Scaramanga's funhouse was, I think, a really cool set piece, both in the first battle and the last battle that Bond has against him. Christopher Lee's good. I thought it was interesting that, kind of a bit like what they did with Red Grant, they tried to make the anti-Bond, where Bond kills for Queen and Country, whereas Scaramanga is a mercenary. Also, the Golden Gun itself is really cool. I just found this movie to be a lot of fun. Is it kind of goofy? Yeah. Is it not the best paced? Yeah. In Calvin's review of it, his complaint was that Maud Adams' character is really out of place because she has like this horrible existence, and then the rest of the movie is really goofy. I don't know. I like Man with the Golden Gun. It's fun. It's flawed but fun. Um, Maybe just to do another one I have more to say about. We're just gonna do GoldenEye, so that's God tier. I think it's the best Bond film in pretty much every respect. I mean, what's not to love about it? I think Pierce Brosnan's the best Bond. I think he just oozes cool. He has that schmarminess. He is really charming. It's just he's really good at delivering the one-liner. And like I said, he's just I don't know, he's just kind of the perfect Bond. He reminds me probably the most of Book Bond, or I guess he's a bit schmarmier and funnier than Book Bond, but I just love Pierce Brosnan. I think he was probably the perfect actor for it, even more than Sean Connery was. I'm not sure if that's really a taboo thing, but GoldenEye I think was really just what reinvigorated the series. Timothy Dalton, I think, really got the short end of the stick with when he got to make the movies, how rushed they were, how he only got two films. And the series really, I think, needed some revitalizing. And you come out with GoldenEye, which I think is one of the best action movies of all time. There's so many memorable action scenes in it. Like there's the old pre-credit scene I think is the best one with the chemical facility. You have the bungee jump. You have the awesome standoff scene where Bond is like shooting the nerve gas canisters, and where Bond jumps like off the cliff and into the airplane. That was amazing. You have the tag chase scene. You have the fight in the archives scene. This is, I think, one of the best paced movies I've ever seen, where it does a good job of balancing kind of a bit slower, tense moments with really fast ones. Zanya Onatop is a really good villain. Trevelyan's a really good villain. Oromov, or however you pronounce his name, is also good. It's also, I think, a bit more self aware. The Brosnan films, I think, tried to take kind of the Timothy Dalton thing, where Bond is kind of this damaged Cold War, as M describes him, dinosaur, and try to kind of stretch that out. That he's kind of living with PTSD and he doesn't really know what to do with himself now that communism's gone. And I really like that. Also, just seeing Bond in Moscow driving down the streets in a tank is really just kind of a symbol of how the Cold War's over. But I can't really say enough good things about this movie. Two absolutely gorgeous Bond girls, lots of great action, great gadgets, one of the best Q scenes. I just love GoldenEye. And from that, let's go to another movie that's not good. It's close between Spectre and Qualm of Solace. Now, I know when I first saw Spectre, I I gave it a good review, but it is really horrible. Like it's really bad. It's long, it's boring, it's got the worst villain in the Bond series. The plot twist, it feels like something. It's like below bad fan fiction. It's below, like, I think if someone put Blofeld being his brother in a parody, people would not like it because it would be too retarded. But Spectre was fucking atrocious. I think the main reason I liked it was that how do you pronounce his name? Leia Lee Sidel, whatever her name is, the French girl who played Madeline Swan. I just find her very attractive, and that kind of distracted me from how bad the movie was. But it's just wretched on pretty much every level. I miss campy old Spectre. I miss when Spectre had the number system, when they had like secret volcano layers. And I guess people are saying, well, maybe that's not for the new era. Well, then maybe you shouldn't have brought Spectre back and shat all over it. And also, there's like, I don't even remember what the like central plan is. And I just watched like an hour long interview of it, like the review of it. They're like, oh, we want to build a government surveillance system that will allow us to spy on everyone. It's like, but that already exists. And it's like, but Spectre's going to get it. And are they going to use it for world domination? I don't know. Like, if Spectre's going to be involved, if Blofeld's going to be involved, I want some crazy take over the world, trying to start a war between the great powers type thing. But we don't get any of that. We just get this bland, boring movie with probably the single most retarded plot twist I've ever seen in my life. Where it's like, Blofeld was actually Bond's brother this whole time. And I think one of Blofeld's appeals in the movies is that he was mysterious. I know in the books he had a lot more development, but it's so lame. And Christopher Waltz is terrible casting. And I don't know, just everything about this movie other than the leading actress sucked. From your eyes only, I don't know where to put this. I appreciate that they were trying to do something a little different. This feels like they were trying to kind of channel Connery or Lazenby and kind of do get a bit away from the camp that had dominated a lot of the Roger Moore movies. And I do really appreciate that they decided to wrap up the whole Blofeld thing and permanently killed him off. And that was funny, and it was nice to see the reference to Tracy again. I just remember this movie being really slow and could have been edited better. And the central plot was okay. Like the villain, I can't even remember. It was good to see what's his name, General Gogol. Yeah, General Gogol, who is kind of one of my favorite. Well, there's not that many reoccurring characters, but he was one of my favorite reoccurring characters. So it was nice to see him in this movie. The ending I thought was really funny when it was when they were talking about when he met Bond and Bond throws the coding machine off the mountain. He's like, "Detente, you don't have it, I don't have it." But overall, it's just kind of a snooze fest. The Living Daylights. This is hard because this is by far my favorite Bond song, and I listen to it all the time 'cause it's so catchy. I'm not really sure where to put this because it does have, I think, one of the better action scenes in a Bond movie, where the Aston Martin chase scene where you have like lasers and all this other high tech stuff. From my understanding, this movie was super rushed when they were building it and when they were making it, and they didn't really have enough time to edit it properly. Dalton kind of got the short end of the stick. So I think it's not a bad movie, but it is very flawed. So I'm not really sure. I'm gonna have to put in the C here. The other problem is General Pushkin. It really should have been General Gogol, but I think the actor was sick, so they couldn't do it at the time. Also, Kara or Kira, whatever, was a really annoying Bond girl. The Spy Who Loved Me. Admittedly, I just haven't seen this one in a really long time. People tend to regard it really highly. I thought it was okay. My main issue is that I saw Moonraker first, and this one has the exact same plot as Moonraker, and I found the villain kind of underwhelming and boring. I mean, Barbara Bach's really hot, and you have Jaws, and there's a lot of kind of other good things in it, but I just never been a huge fan of the spy. Tomorrow Never Dies is A tier. It lacks, I don't know, maybe the emotional impact of GoldenEye, and the plot is a little more esoteric. But Rupert Murdoch being the main villain is good. This film has amazing action scenes, like Bond going down the side of the building. You have the car parking lot shootout scene that was really good. Whatever her name is, Colonel Ling or whatever, the Chinese girl they had was good. The romantic subplot was cringe and shouldn't have been in the movie, but that's fine. The final shootout on the stealth ship was good. It was just really campy, which I like. It was campy, it was high energy, it had a lot of action in it. Just a very, very fun movie. Diamonds Are Forever. Another difficult one. This is kind of one of my issues with the later appearances of Spectre is they kind of abandoned like the whole Spectre as an organization thing, like the secret bases, the number one, number two thing, and kind of the idea of it being an organization bent on global domination. Charles Gray is an interesting choice for Blofeld. I didn't really mind him, but the fact that he wasn't even bald was kind of lame. Partially, it's also just coming after Donald Pleasance. I just don't think you can really top Donald Pleasance as Blofeld. So, it's a fun movie. It's definitely not bad. I find Tiffany super annoying. So this is gonna go in B tier. Goldfinger I haven't seen in a really long time. It's generally considered to be the gold standard, if you will, for at least the Connery era and kind of what a Bond movie should be. I don't have a ton to say about Goldfinger, so I'm just gonna throw it in A tier and on. The World Is Not Enough. So this was a movie I liked when I saw it, then I didn't like it, and now I like it again. I gotta give them credit. They tried to do something different. You had GoldenEye, which I think was really trying to take the formula and put it on crack and just make it the best it could. And then Tomorrow Never Dies, I think was almost more like a it was a very kind of traditional Bond film. But then The World Is Not Enough was kind of different. The pacing was very different. The villain was very different. And I think they largely succeeded. And I have to appreciate them, like I said, trying something a bit different. Electra, oh, what's her name? Sophie McCow, whatever her name is. The actress who played Electra, I think, did a really good job of being kind of like subtly crazy or subtly evil. Having the Bond girl as being the main villain and not the obvious villain, I thought was a really good twist. Her plan was maybe not the most interesting of a lot of them, but it did have a lot of really good action scenes. The action scene with the helicopter with the tree trimmer was pretty cool. The action scene in the missile silo was really cool. The ski action scene was awesome. It did have, I think, a really good send off to Q. I know they didn't realize that Desmond Llewellyn was going to die in this movie, but it was really nice that him and John Cleese got to be in one film together. So uh, he was able to introduce him. Also, I just think the part at the end of the encounter where he's like, there's two things I've always tried to change you, 007. The first is never let them see you bleed. And the second, always have an escape plan. And then he just goes off screen. And I think that's probably the perfect send off for Q. So I got to give that a lot of credit. Denise Richards kind of sucked, but I mean she's eye candy, so I can't complain that much. Overall, The World Is Not Enough. I'm gonna have to put it into A tier. It's a bit slow. It's very kind of different. I don't know if you'd really say it's a traditional Bond film, but I gotta give it credit where credit's due. I think you're noticing a pattern with the Brosnan. Moonraker is B tier. It is retarded. It's really stupid, but it's a lot of fun. You got the dart gun. You got Hugo Drax, who's Snoopy the dog, and like obviously doesn't want to be there. You have the space station. You have like all kinds of just crazy over the top shit, which I'm okay with. Keep in mind when the ones I'm putting in the B tier aren't bad at all. Like I like these movies. I've seen a lot of these multiple times. I just don't think they're like great. I guess C tier is more like okay, and then there's garbage tier. Then we have You Only Live Twice. It's sometimes close for me between this and GoldenEye. It's kind of hard to compare them because they're just from very different eras and they're shot in very different styles. You Only Live Twice, I think, is the ultimate like pre-Brosnan Bond film, and GoldenEye is probably the ultimate post Brosnan, or I guess you could say modern era Bond film. But You Only Live Twice was just amazing. It was just so good. You had Donald Pleasance as Blofeld. You had the volcano layer, which was, I think they built that like full size. It was amazing. I think this movie deserves to be in God tier just for the secret volcano layer. You also had a large variety of different action scenes in this. You had ninjas. You had Bond getting into fist fights. You had some kung fu movie tropes, like you had that cool scene where Bond was fighting people on the roof of the building. There's just so much fun stuff. Oh, you had the little Nelly scene. I mean, I can't say enough good things about this film. This film is just great. I like the Bond girls in it a lot. This is a film I think where the travel log really pays off. The travel log aspect of it, just seeing Tokyo and Japan during this time period, they have kind of an interesting mixture of old castles and stuff like that and temples, but then a lot more kind of modern stuff, like just kind of Tokyo developing. Overall, You Only Live Twice is really, really good. Live and Let Die. Now, this is going to be controversial, and I don't know if people are going to call me a cuck for this. This film always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Now, I think Katanga or Kananga, however you pronounce his name, might be one of the best Bond villains. But overall, I just find this movie really tonally weird. I remember the pre-credit scene being really awkward. I personally always didn't really like how Bond tricked Solitaire into having sex with him and took away her psychic powers. I'm normally willing to look past Bond's just screwing random women as kind of being Chad and because this is male wish for fulfillment. But here I just found it really awkward and really kind of unpleasant. And it kind of ruined my feeling of the movie. Also, all of the Moore movies just have that 1980s presence to them. It's hard to describe. I just find there's something excruciatingly slow and weird about stuff from the 80s. It's kind of hard to describe. The Penske file talked about it a bit when he was reviewing season 1 of the Next Gen. His explanation was because there was no B plot or no real side plot in a lot of the movies. They just felt really sluggish compared to some other films. That might be true. I'm not sure. I just Live and Let Die, I think, is overrated. Although seeing Quarrel Jr. was good. Thunderball, another difficult one to rate. Um, on one hand, it is very iconic. I like Largo. I like the actual plot was pretty good. Um, not really sure where to put it. On the other hand, it was too long. It probably needed to be edited down a bit more. I think I'm going to put this in B tier. Once again, B tier isn't bad. I just think there's some issues with it that probably could have gotten ironed out better. Pretty good movie. I remember its pre-credit scene being garbage though. So, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So I'm going to put this in A tier. I appreciate they tried to do something a little different for this one. They didn't just make another Connery film. They tried to make this a lot more of a traditional spy film. So it's more of a spy film. Lazenby, I don't think, is terrible in it. Once again, I think I'm not sure if the production on this was rushed, but they like if they had have given him another film or two, I think he would have grown into the character a bit more. And I appreciate they tried to do something like they tried to make it like exactly like the novel. There's some plot holes in it, specifically with regard to why Blonde and Blofeld don't recognize each other. And there's kind of some cringy scenes at the clinic. I think the movie probably should have been edited down a bit. You probably could have taken 10 to 15 minutes out of it and made it kind of um I'm trying to think how I would put it, well-paced film. But overall, it's pretty good. The soundtrack is amazing. The ski chase scenes are really good. I think there's a lot of good chemistry between Tracy and Bond. The ending of it gets me every time. It's a really good ending scene. Overall, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is just solid movie overall. License to Kill. Once again, I appreciate they did something a little different with this one. They didn't really have the traditional Bond plot structure. Like Bond gets a mission, he goes out and does it, saves the world. In this one, you have the very personal revenge story of Leiter getting partially eaten by a shark and his wife getting killed. I think is something I didn't really see coming, which was interesting. I didn't think the pre-credit scene was particularly good, but like Bond getting in and like gaslighting Sanchez, getting close to him was interesting. I really like Sanchez's assistant and his plans to try to make the drug business into a more modern kind of enterprise. You had the chase scene, which was really good. What's her name? The Bond girls in this one were really good, especially the blonde pilot one. I really like how Q just decided to show up. Like he wasn't really supposed to. He just went on vacation to help out Bond. So at the end of the day, Q is kind of a father figure for Bond. Q complains about Bond a lot. He gets irritated when Bond doesn't return stuff. But at the end of the day, he does kind of have a paternal affection for him, and I like whenever the movies kind of make that clear. So License to Kill, I think, was good. It's kind of too bad that they didn't let Dalton have any more movies after this, but it is what it is. Die Another Day is garbage tier. Die Another Day is really bad. It's what killed the Brosnan films. It's just retarded. it doesn't make any sense. The plot's really lame. I don't really know what else to say. Halle Berry was terrible. The script was really bad. They were trying to go for something serious and personal, but it was just so goofy. Using like a laser satellite to try to invade South Korea was just really dumb. I don't really think I need to say too much more about it. Rosamund Pike was also bad. I don't know why Madonna was involved with it. Bad movie, garbage tier. Octopussy. I finally watched Octopussy. Octopussy is kind of a mess. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. The central plot, I think, is just kind of too complicated. You didn't really need like at least two villains. Khan, I thought was pretty good. General, what's his name, was pretty good, just because of how crazy he is. I just find the whole India thing just goes on too long. Once again, I think this is a movie where editing could have helped it out a lot. Octopussy herself, I think, is really lame, and you could probably cut out that entire part of the movie, and it wouldn't really make any sort of difference. It would just make it more coherent. The circus I thought was kind of goofy. I don't know. I didn't really like the pre-credit scene. I didn't really like the ending. I just think it's kind of Roger Moore at his most Roger Moore-ish. And it's not as bad as I think a lot of people say it is. Maybe it's just because I don't really like India and I don't really like movies set there. I much prefer Europe or East Asia, but yeah. Skyfall, I'll just put an A tier. Um, Once again, it's just a pretty solid move, or A or B. I haven't seen it since it came out. You know what? I'm gonna put it in B tier. I just don't like the Daniel Craig movies. I don't like the direction they went. They feel really Oscar baity. They feel really like we. It feels like they're made by people who hate James Bond and James Bond fans. So it's a pretty good movie. Um, I enjoyed it for what it was, but it's just part of the whole Craig screwing the series up, in my opinion. So I can't really put it higher. From a View to a Kill, okay, people are probably gonna disagree. They put this in B or A tier. I'm gonna reluctantly put it in B tier. Okay, so this movie is really, really stupid. Roger Moore's way too old to play Bond in it. Um, Christopher Walken is just super hammy. The plot is ridiculous, but I do love From a View to a Kill. Um, it's just awesome. You have Christopher Walken just chewing up scenery. You have Roger Moore just, I think, at his best in this film. It really doesn't take itself too seriously. And you just have a lot of really over the top scenes, like the Golden Gate Bridge fight, Soren gunning his men down. It's just kind of schlock, but it's good schlock at its best. And I also just like the song. The Duran Duran song's really good. It felt like they were just greedy with this one. They were just trying to squeeze out one more Roger Moore film, and no one really cared about it. If they were gonna do it, and I think Calvin says it when he's talking about this, they should have done it more as like about Bond getting old, kind of like what Never Say Never was supposed to be. But it's schlock, but it's good schlock. Then we have Never Say Never Again. That definitely goes into garbage tier. This one's probably the worst one after Quantum of Solace and Spectre, if you can even count it as a Bond film. I do like the pre-credit scene, or I guess it's a credit slash credit pre-credit scene. I do like the song in it, but this is the definition of phoned in. Connery is just kind of like tired and old, and I don't know if he really wants to be there. The whole movie was made as a fuck you to Ian Fleming and Eon Films. They set it up like there's going to be a new cinematic universe and it doesn't go anywhere. The guy they got to play Largo is really weird. It's just the definition of like a phoned in movie. There's a couple good one liners. I do like their take on Q in this movie. And I do kind of like the whole Sean Connery's just old. but it's garbage. It's schlock. It's not. No, it's not even schlock. It's just lame. And that brings us to Doctor No. So this one is also very hard because it is the first one. I'm gonna have to probably put it in B tier. The series was kind of finding itself at this point in time. So while you didn't really have gadgets or a pre-credit scene or that kind of thing, I'll give it credit for being a pretty good movie. It's more of a detective movie really than a Bond movie, but they're just kind of getting the formula down. What keeps it out of A tier is I still don't understand what Doctor No's plan was. Was it like in You Only Live Twice, where he's trying to start a war between Russia and America, where they tried to steal rockets? I don't really get what the goal was and what the plan was. But still, I think it was a very solid introduction to the character. I do love Quarrel. I kind of wish Quarrel had survived, or Quarrel Jr. would have been in more Bond movies. I think my uncle once said the ultimate Bond movie has to have Quarrel as the boat driver and Felix Leiter in it. And I mean, that's fair enough. Um, I don't think Felix Leiter was in any of the Brosnan. Kind of a shame. They had that other CIA guy. But yeah, I thought Doctor No, solid movie, good way to start the Bond series. So that's my tier list. People will probably disagree with it. They aren't in any particular order on the actual tier list, but I don't know. I hope people enjoyed that video. Um, God bless, and I guess more tier lists to come at some point.